What's going on, stream? This is D-Spence Beats, and I am concerned for my brothers. When I say my brothers in South Africa, that means the South Africans and whoever else is in there. I'm deeply concerned because we have 6 more days until the 30th comes. So, a lot of South Africans, they had made a verbal contract saying that this is going to happen on the 30th. If you do not get out, things will happen to you. Now, I am not one to blame South Africans for what's going on. I truly believe that they must have been pushed to the extreme for them to do this extreme act, which is trying to get rid of the migrants who are co-occupying their lands, because I believe they have open borders just like we have here in the U.S. But the other side of it are the people who are there. They're not really the most respectful. They insult the people who are living there, even though they were welcome with open arms. The opportunities have been taken by the migrants. You could say that the same thing has happened here in America, but maybe it's happening even more out there. I do not know. I'm just a spectator hoping for the best for the South African people, because bloodshed seems to be inevitable. Politics seem to anticipate and decide to do nothing in return, because they are assuming people are going to be bluffing, or they will try to somehow, some way benefit from the destruction that's about to happen. I'm going to see a few videos about it, and I'll give you my thoughts.
It has been set by anti-illegal migration groups. They have asked all undocumented migrants to leave South Africa by the end of this month.
Now, the whole thing is, how do you know these people have families? Some people may not even have families back to where they came from. Okay, so they get up and leave is very, very, very primal, to say the least. Is not understanding the human factors involved, why people leave in the first place. Not everyone has a place to go to. If you tell them to uproot and just do it somewhere else, understand that when it comes to tough decisions, feelings cannot be spared. And it's a blanket statement. It's not individualist. It's a group you're trying to get rid of, or groups. But I feel for the people who do not have a place to go, who do not have family. There are people who are actually homeless. They may have found refuge in South Africa. They may have found happiness in South Africa. So this is very scary times, okay? When it comes to wartime, unfortunately, no one cares about the people who don't deserve it.
The June the 30th ultimatum has no legal basis. The government does not back it, but they are clearly alarmed, which is why they are boosting police deployment across the country. South Africa's acting police minister, Firoz Kachalia, made the announcement on Monday.
The South African Police Service has elevated its operational readiness across all provinces, with comprehensive deployment plans in place to protect communities, critical infrastructure, and key public spaces.
And Minister Kachalia also made it clear that while South Africans have the right to peacefully protest, criminality, intimidation and violence will not be tolerated. Over the last few weeks, the country has seen pockets of violent anti-foreigner protests. Reportedly, several people have been killed in the violence, but the toll remains disputed. Countries like Ghana...
See that? People have already been hurt, and it's no way they are actually counted. That's just what's reported. And was such a powerful statement as gets out of our country by the 30th, you know for sure people will be actually dying for this cause.
Nigeria, Mozambique and Malawi have rushed in to repatriate their citizens. So the Ramaphosa government is not taking any chances to curb any potential unrest. And the police aren't alone. The military is also stepping in. Defence Minister Angie Motshega confirmed that soldiers are being sent to secure strategic sites, including major airports. But while security forces tighten control, a humanitarian crisis is playing out at deportation centres. In Durban's Sherwood area, thousands of Malawians have gathered to try and go home, fearing violent attacks.
So South Africa, I'm telling you, is so bad. just now. So we're supposed to go home. Yeah. We can't live here like that.
So far, over 3,000 Malawians have already been repatriated.
In 2026, we're still having these. This is my ear fryer. These situations. There's one thing about Africa. Okay. Here in America, we protest. We go complain online, social media. Over there, the niggas will bring it to your ass. Okay. It's not a joke. They will really kill your ass out there. All right. So us Americans, we're privileged to know that despite people thinking Donald Trump is Hitler 2.0 and your rights are being restricted, or the F they're not. Okay? These people you're looking on the screen, their rights, in some cases, are non-existent. In South Africa, they may have more rights than the average person, but in certain countries, there are no rights. It's whoever has the money, who has the power. So these people are facing real danger. It is not a game, okay? These people can get killed. It's not in Facebook jail, not in Instagram jail. You won't get served papers, a gag order, okay? These people's lives are actually in danger, for real. They don't play that in Africa.
However, the process is incredibly slow. South African officials say this is because these individuals are undocumented, so they legally have to appear in court first. On top of that, Pretoria says that the Malawian government hasn't sent enough buses and is currently asking for donations to help fund the trips home. The South African police force are also investigating the murder of a Malawian national who died after a protest in the southeastern town of Pietermaritzburg last week. The latest unrest highlights the deep-rooted frustrations in South Africa currently. As one of Africa's largest and most important industrialized economies, it has long been a magnet for migrants. But the country is currently facing an unemployment rate above 30%. This has fueled local claims that migrants drive up crime and take jobs. Amid the international backlash and domestic chaos, President Ramaphosa has vowed to crack down.
In America, we have a thing about it. They're taking our jobs. That will say about white people who feel that the migrants taking their jobs. In this case, the locals are saying they're taking their jobs, but there are not a lot of jobs in the first place. So they like grabbing straws. Like, okay, yes, you're here because you're desperate, but guess what? We're desperate too. I'm not trying to justify anything happening today. I'm just trying to put myself in people's shoes. The migrants that were there before, in this case, the Malawians, they come up for a better opportunity, of course, because their country may not have the opportunity. So in their case, they're saying, well, you know, we're not over here causing trouble. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. They're saying it's not just them taking a job. It's also crime, too, apparently.
On illegal
The
migrants.
only thing I know about Malawi is because I did my studies years ago. This has nothing to do with what's going on. I'm saying right now. I know in Malawi, if you're like albino, you are in danger of being albino in Malawi because they openly hunt down people who are albino, especially when it comes to political seasons. They tend to hunt down albino people, kill them, take off their arms, eat their skin because it's supposed to be good luck for election season. So Malawians have really outdated laws. Last time I checked, maybe they're different now. I have no idea. I need to find more channels that specialize in certain politics and in certain countries so I have a better understanding. I'm just going for what I remember about 5-6 years ago.
Migration, while condemning xenophobic
And
violence.
also, albinos are being protected now. So, you know, it's not like just how it is all the time. I just put in a fun fact. At one point, this was true. Albinos has been protected since last time I checked. They have initiative, they have awareness. So not all albinos are in danger in Malawi or in Africa in general. But at one point they were. Maybe they still have issues.
Violence. But his balancing act has done little to calm the anti-immigrant protesters. History shows us how fast these frustrations can turn deadly. In 2008, anti-foreigner riots left 62 people dead. More outbreaks flared up in 2015 and 2016. And in 2019, armed mobs attacked foreign-owned businesses around Johannesburg, leaving 12 people dead. There is also a political element to this. South Africa is heading to local government elections on November the 4th, and immigration is a highly charged political issue. But for now, authorities are racing against the clock. They are trying to secure the streets and process thousands of fearful migrants before the June 30th deadline arrives.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news?
Yo, this is deep, yo.
Officials across all spheres of government are coordinating on their response measures ahead of Tuesday's planned nationwide protests. In KwaZulu-Natal, officials from the Provincial Police Commissioner's office will be meeting with regional commanders, and that's to discuss their plans. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia, on the other hand, will lead a similar meeting in Cape Town. Letukolo Ngumalo, Sletiwe Ndlovu, all following those developments from Pietermaritzburg as well as Durban, respectively. Malungelo Boy is in Cape Town. Let's start with you, Letukolo. More Malawians have been taken to the Lindela Repatriation Center in Gauteng overnight. Tell us more about that and what you know from those details.
Well, Arabile, it is a very cold morning here in Pietermaritzburg, but we have seen a number of people behind us, some without jackets, some without blankets. But what they're saying that is good about today is that more buses will be coming in this morning, taking more of them to Lindela. Now, we know that last night, 2 buses carrying 65 people in each left this condemned site and they made their way to Lindela. Now, officials have also started arriving, meaning that now they will open the gates behind us, and some of these people that we see behind us will line up and their names will be taken down before they get into a bus that is already here. Now, 7 buses are expected to take a lot more people this morning. Now, the Premier of KZN was here yesterday. We chatted to him. He raised concerns about the conditions of where these people are, and he also raised concerns about how the Malawian government was not assisting in terms of bringing transport fast enough to be able to have some of all these people that are here either repatriated or to be deported. I'm going to just move out of shot so my colleague Gift can show you some of the people who are waiting.
So many people
To get into some of the buses that will be arriving this morning. We also had a chat to the mayor of Msunduzi municipality, and both the premier and the mayor said they wanted to ensure that this site was cleared in the next 3 days, but failing that, they were going to try and find an alternative site. But
how do you know whose bag is who? I know they probably have an eye on it, but geez.
Besides finding another site, they just want to ensure that most of these people are taken to Lindela, as they are no longer going to be going to Sherwood, but straight to Lindela, where they will be processed and will make their way back to Malawi. Back to Arabile.
Letukolo Ngumalo, thank you so much for that as well, because that situation is actually staying quite home. What's the situation looking like?
Woo, fine shit.
Right now, Sletiwe.
Good morning, Arabile. As you've rightfully indicated, we could possibly see more Malawians make their way here. In fact, late last night, my colleague will just show you now, late last night, we did not have this number of
Somebody told me that living in South Africa is like living in New York, by the way.
people this side. We did, of course, observe that there were Ubers that were dropping off people. I counted about 11 within 10 minutes of us just standing on the road and observing the situation. But definitely this side, we are seeing that the number of Malawian nationals is increasing. My colleague is just going to show you the number of people here and the fact that
This is event, yo, for real. This is history right here.
Arabile, they actually now have filled up this area, going all the way to this bend that you are seeing. So we can definitely say that the numbers are increasing. Officials also stating that at this particular point, that's one of the biggest concerns that they have. It's that this particular situation remains a moving target. At this point, they're still unsure of how many people you have this side, because on on a daily basis, people continue to arrive. And from the conversations that we've had with some of those that you are seeing here, they do mention that they fled those different areas due to threats and intimidation. But when you do ask Arabile if there's any cases that have been opened, some of them do indicate that there are no cases that have been opened, which of course does make it quite hard for police to actually validate those allegations that they are bringing.
Of course, some people have been hurt. This is so crazy.
Forward. Officials from Home Affairs a couple of days ago also stating that they feel as
Yo, the power of South Africans saying, yo, we putting belt to ass, foot to ground, knob carry the head. If you know what knob carry, that's from Lesotho. So, whatever. This is crazy, but again, I'm not the one to say, oh, they're evil, they're bad. Why don't do it to the white people? I explained in another video the reason why they're not doing it to the white people is because you can't replace a whole infrastructure without having competent people to replace the infrastructure. So until then, they have to deal with it. But they're saying, look, in the meantime, these migrants who are so disrespectful. I already covered a video about how, doesn't mean these people were, of course, not all of them, but they've been feeling this for a very long time, more time than what we know about this country's situation now. So it's not the first time. They've been feeling this way for a very, very long time. For them to really be out in these streets with real threats, and you see how many people are outside, you know they're not playing around. So they want change, so they're ready to die for it. Here in America, people are ready to talk for it, not die for it.
if some Malawian nationals are taking advantage of the mission or the operation that you are seeing here, and that some of them are actually turning this situation into a free bus ticket home. In terms of what's happening and the reason why they remain outside Arabile, we were told by officials that they'd have to first process those that are inside the venue. My colleague is just going to show you, it's on the opposite end of where we are. So they have to process those that are inside the drive-in site. Then once they process those people, they will then be able to get to these people that you are seeing here outside. In terms of what's set to take place, we are expecting that more buses will arrive, of course. Yesterday, I counted at least 6 buses that left around 4 or 5 p.m., but we are hearing that it could have possibly been 8 buses. But we are, of course, set to get an update from the Home Affairs Department around 1 p.m. This afternoon. And lastly, round about the same time,
It's going to be a very uncomfortable 3 days.
and you're looking at the June 30th.
The kind of violence perhaps they've also faced.
I'll tell you this, Arabile, we've been here since last week monitoring the number of Zimbabwean nationals that are coming from various parts of the Western Cape who want to be repatriated back to Zimbabwe. Some come from as far as Robertson, Worcester, Hermanus and Strand here in South Africa. So this week, in fact, we saw at least one bus leaving
Go back to Zimbabwe. It's crazy.
the consulate. For years been experiencing tough economic day last week, and was again in March again at
Yeah, so there you have it. I'll be doing more and more streams about this topic. That's my air fryer again, y'all. This is crazy. This is something I don't want to imagine going through. I'm grateful that I don't have a crisis going on right now. The only crisis I have going on is a legal crisis, and that could be settled, you know, over time. But this emotional damage cannot be. I feel for the people who are being sent back home by force. I also feel the South Africans who feel like they have no choice but to do this, because if they don't do this, nothing will change, and they'll be a second-class citizen in their own land. That's the only impression I'm getting from them. They're over it. They're done. They're not taking it anymore. And unfortunately, the people who are the most vulnerable are the first ones to go, but that's just how war goes. You go for weaknesses, you don't go for being fair. You go for it, just trying to get what you can, and then eventually you'll regroup and go for the bigger fish. So shout out to the Africans going through this. I am an ally. I love to study culture, music, and I want this to be a fast transition. I feel bad for people who go back to countries that don't have opportunities, because that's the reason why they're there in the first place. And I hope that this resolves itself somehow, some way. Messy. Every country has their own issues though, so don't sleep. This is just a topic of the year. Trust me, every fucking country got some crazy shit, humanitarian issues everywhere.